This is Focus on Your Health. It's brought to you by Kingman Regional Medical Center in historic Kingman, Arizona. I'm T.G. LaFredo. KRMC Hospice offers a wide range of services, including medical and respite care, social services, chaplain services, and rapid crisis response. Bereavement support is also a crucial aspect of KRMC Hospice. In our last episode, we visited with Stormy Beckerly, a bereavement counselor. This week on the program, we're visiting with 3 members of a bereavement support group at KRMC. In the following conversation, you will hear from Judy, Jill, and Lee. They share their reflections on love and sorrow, on community, and recovering from loss. Here is my conversation with them. I'm so glad to talk with you guys today and to learn a little bit about the bereavement program. And also, you've been gracious enough to volunteer your time to talk about your personal experiences. So I want to say thanks in advance. How long have you been involved with the bereavement program? Let's start with you, Judy.
Probably about a year before my husband passed. I dealt with home care first, and then when my husband got more ill, hospice came out and helped me, and then I brought him in on respite to have vacation times, like 5 days, and then I would take him back home. That gave me time to clean house and do things. And then after he passed away, I made a big mistake and got involved with some people that took advantage of me, and that's what everyone should never do. You should take time off between the death of your spouse and major decisions. Oh. And I got talked into some unfortunate situations. And then the grief counselor that was here during Randy's lifetime with hospice, we still kept in contact, and I told her about my situation, and she said, "Why don't you join the bereavement group? We think you would really enjoy it, and it would give you something to give back to the community to keep going." And so I did. I joined a little over 3 years ago, and I love it. It saved my life, basically, because I had a pretty rough time that first year. But I got through it, and the bereavement group got me through it.
That unfortunate situation you alluded to.
Well, but I learned, and a lot of our people are that come in to have the meet and greet sessions on Tuesday and Thursday. They are on the verge of making major decisions before they should. Yeah. And we all get told don't do it, but in our mind and heart we're so confused and so hurt and lonely that we make bad decisions. And I can talk to people about that. And I'm glad I went through it because I've got a grip on things that a lot of people do not have.
Jill, how did you become involved with this program?
Well, my husband passed at home. I had hoped to have put him in a bed at hospice, but it just didn't happen. And so after that, I was really at a loss. Grief was very tough. And we had a lady come out from the hospice bereavement group, invite me to come. She said, "I think it will really help you." And so I came, and at first it was rough, but then as soon as I walked through these doors, I was greeted so warmly.
Yes.
And so wonderfully, and they had me have a seat, and just so kind, and I just mostly just sat and listened. And what I got to listen to was wonderful, because this group was not led like perhaps an AA group might be.
Or a radio show.
Or a radio show. But I just sat and listened to the joy, and I just needed a break from the grief.
Yes.
So by coming, it's like, oh, so I absolutely wanted to come back, not eating much because of the grief. There was offered soup and support night, which we have here available. And, just to sit down with people and have a bowl of soup, a beautiful biscuit, a nice dessert. And, and mostly it was just the warmth I felt from people, the love, because people that have been through this, we just are all here to really just show love and support. We have very, very often anywhere from a dozen people to 24 people. But, you feel the one-on-one, you become friends. And when you're going through this, you need friends. And then we also build each other up. And so at first, I was just, that person that needed a lot of help, and I wanted to give back, so I started to volunteer. And I love volunteering here. It's been the best. And I was even able to meet my husband here.
We are going to talk about a segue. Thank you very much. We're going to talk about that, I am sure. That brings us to Lee. Hi, Lee. Welcome.
Oh, thank you.
And tell me about your beginnings here.
Well, I began here almost 5 years ago. My late wife passed away in June of 21. She had severe Parkinson's. She had taken a fall and dislocated her shoulder. So I brought her into the ER with the simple assumption of getting the shoulder set and going back home again. But when the ER doctors examined her and the house doctors, they realized that the Parkinson's disease had taken a severe toll and that her internal muscular structure from the esophagus all the way through her body was shutting down. And they told me then that she probably wouldn't make it through the week. And it was a very immediate shock, not only to me, but my late wife was still conscious and listening to him. And when she heard that, she kind of just closed her eyes and shut herself down. And then, so the hospital got me in contact with the hospice group here, and they set up arrangements for me to have hospice care in home for the remainder of my late wife's time, which I was okay with that because I've taken care of her by myself for the past 6 years anyway. Figure, well, what would be another few days or a week, it wouldn't matter. And I'd just take care of her till the end. And then about a month after she passed, I started coming to the bereavement group here because after being out of society for that many years, I learned I needed to learn how to interact socially with people again. Remember the first time I went out to buy a new shirt for my late wife's grandson's wedding. I'm standing in the store and I'm looking around and, this is a scary place. What am I doing here, And just buying her shirt. So I needed that interaction with people again that I hadn't had for many years. And I'm so glad that I did come out here and so meet with other people, and everybody was so loving and so kind. Because this is something that, God help you, if you only went through it once in your life, that one time is too many. But when you're hit in the face with a cold reality that the spouse that you're married to is, all of a sudden you heard that she's passing, that you did not expect that. And so it's a comfort and a real blessing to our community to have such a loving staff here on hand. And I thank them from the bottom of my heart.
We've kind of touched on this a little bit about the importance of the group dynamic, about knowing you're not alone. Say something more about that. We'll go back around the horn, but let's start with you, Lee, about hearing other people's stories.
Well, I did. I heard a lot of other people's stories, and some people that was here when I first started, in my opinion, they were taking even their own home private environment too much to an extreme. Say, well, I can't go there because it reminds me of my wife. Well, reminders of your wife should be something wonderful to be thinking about, not something to be sad about. So they didn't. Again, I tried to encourage them to enjoy the memories, not to run from the memories. Because, like I say, all your memories is what you have to last you the rest of your life. And everything else is just things. But the memories is what's really important. And that's what I stood by, is interacting with the memories and keeping the memories alive of that person.
Jill, you said that you came in sort of as a silent observer. I'm paraphrasing. But soon you found that you could share and you could be part of the group. Talk a little bit about the group experience for you.
It was nice to start sharing with people, to start learning to live again, because grief is really tough. So I met Lee, I met Judy, and with many friends, and we just sit and visit, and then you know what you need to do so you can move forward with your finances, so you can move forward with just getting back out in the world. So I, with this group of friends, started going to movies, plays, restaurants, and knowing that joy, you have to choose joy. Once you go through the deepest of grief, you have to wake up in the morning and choose joy. Mm-hmm. And this is what this bereavement group has given me. I walked through those doors and I found friends. Yep. I found people that could relate and really cared, and the compassion. And I've always loved KRMC. It's wonderful. And to have this hospice house, which some people think is a house of where you die, of dying. For me, it was a house of life. It gave me my life back.
Yeah.
Judy, I see you nodding your head.
Yes, I totally agree. And also, there's one thing that a lot of us do when we're the survivor, and that is get mad at ourselves. And almost everyone that I've talked to that have held their grief really, really deeply are mad at themselves. So I tell them I made some of the biggest mistakes, and I was very angry with myself. I was suicidal at one point before I came here. And I said, you have to remember you've done your best. And that's all you can do. Your loved one knows it. And they may not be able to tell you that, but they're grateful for the love and support you gave them. And the second thing I try to express is we all go through grief. We'll always have grief. It's going to change. It's going to get better, and it's going to get bad, and it's going to get better again, but it's always going to be there, and you'll have to learn to adapt to it.
It's such a lovely point. I know that grief comes in waves. Mm-hmm. Some days are just better than others.
Right.
What is the moment, or do you remember the moments when you said, oh, I think I can find my way through this? Which isn't to say, mm-hmm. I'll never feel this again, but mm-hmm. I think there's a path ahead. Do you remember that, Lee, where you felt that way?
Oh, boy. Well, I think my path, because I've been out of society for so long, was not able to even attend my local church. So I think with me being able to get back to have my life again, getting back into church, my church friends, my church pastors, and they were very supportive in this entire process, even with my late wife's failing health even years prior. And then when she passed the same way, and they took control of everything, including the memorial service. They did everything. I just basically had to show up. But now getting back to your normal routine of living, that's what I think is very important, because especially if you're a sole caregiver and it goes on for years like my situation did, I needed to get back to have a life again. And I had to learn to meet new people, do new things. I couldn't go out to a regular restaurant for 6 months because I felt like I was taking somebody else's space. And when families come in there and go out with a group and you see somebody with families and I'm alone, so I just wouldn't go out for 6 months because I didn't want that extra grief added to me. But then I started going out with like singles groups and with the group here at hospice, just as interaction with society, just to learn how to adjust and to live again. That was just one of the most important things I had to do, learn how to live.
If you're just joining us, this is Focus on Your Health. I'm TG LaFredo, and this week on the program, we're coming to you from KRMC Hospice. I'm chatting with three kind souls from KRMC's Bereavement Support Group. For more information on this and any of the hospital's bereavement services, you can call 928-692-4680. That's 692-4680. And now back to my conversation with Judy, Jill, and Lee. Jill, do you remember a moment where you felt like you could kind of come back to something like normal?
By coming to the bereavement program, it hit me. It's like, you know what? I'm out in society. I'm out. I'm finding friends. I'm finding that through friends, I am healing. And I felt a real healing start to happen I came 2 months after my husband passed, came to the bereavement program, and I felt like, you know what? I kept wanting to come back because I was getting what I needed to get over my grief. I started with Tim, who is our chaplain. He gave me a wonderful one-on-one just right there as soon as I come in. I said, I need to talk to you. He said, well, come on. Let's talk. And it got me going on my way. You know, I was okay sometimes, and sometimes I wasn't. Yeah. But when I made it to that year mark, I could say boldly, I'm going to be okay.
You're going to be okay.
And then I had a friendship with Lee. We was friends. We'd have done a few things outside of hospice. And then we kept meeting here. And it was just wonderful. And this man just was so kind and such a gentleman that then we started to date. And so friendship went to dating. And dating, after a while, after a few months, led to marriage.
It was not something you had planned on, Lee.
No, neither one of us really planned on it.
Yeah.
But you get to the point where, you know, you don't like being alone. And yet you don't like what you see outside. There's a lot of wolves out there, to put it blunt and polite. People in here are honest. A singles group, you have no idea where they came from, what their intentions is, why they were divorced and all this thing. In here, we know why each one of us are here. We're here because of the same reason.
We lost a loved one.
We're not throwaways. We're here because we have a need. Something traumatic happened, and we're trying to get well and recover. So the people you meet here are genuine, real people with real, honest desires and honest goals. And we, as Jill and I, we were dating. Well, we wasn't before we started dating. I said, now look, and I don't like leading anybody on. I won't lead nobody on. That's why I didn't date up until that time. And because I don't want nobody leading me on. I don't want to lead nobody on. But the honesty is here, unlike out there in other type of social groups. So I called her up and I said, have a doctor appointment. Can I meet you for a late breakfast? I want to talk to you. And we discussed, you know, yes, we have a mutual attraction working on each one of us. So neither one was putting each other on, and the other person wasn't led blind and wasn't leading the other one blind. It was a real, honest, godly attraction. So we had a 3-hour breakfast little break at Calico's, and I thought the waitress was going to charge us rent for staying there so long. And ever since then, our relationship has been just absolutely wonderful. But there are times, even now, after we've been married for a little over 2 years now, there's going to be moments that come back in the memory of your late spouse, and it's going to hit you like a ton of bricks. But you can get through it. You can deal with it a little bit better and a little bit different, and you don't have to deal with it alone. That's the good thing. You're not alone anymore. You have purpose in life, not just temporary, but long-term purpose. And a new family at that. I have two new daughters and a new son.
Judy, say a little bit about your path back to a normal
Well, my
life.
path back, you know, I took a year off from when my husband passed before I volunteered. My path back was quite an adventure. I told you I got taken advantage of the neighbors. I helped them move back to Ohio and paid for everything, the whole move, the new place, you name it. And then I was there about a month with them, and things changed. They became very dark, and I became very aware that I had to get out. So I left in the middle of the night with my dog and about a week's worth of clothes and all my legal papers, and I left all my furniture behind, some kitties, some real personal things. Anyway, the first day on the road, after I left that night before, I have a close relationship with God also, and I said, I need you to tell me what to do. And he told me, just keep going. And I did. And when I got that message, the first part of my journey was sanctified by him allowing me to leave that very dark situation with no harm coming to me. So that's when I first knew that I could recover and I could grow from there. And eventually I came back to Arizona, bought some property, built a little place, and then that's when I contacted Summer to tell her that I had been suicidal during that time because I felt worthless, and here again I was angry at myself, the whole thing. Anyway, once I came back and worked with the people here and realized I wasn't different, I was very similar to everybody else, and I didn't need to be mad at myself, then it all changed, and I got to meet Lee and Jill and a whole bunch of other really good folks, and I've been coming all the time ever since. And sometimes I not only do the meet and greet, but I sit with patients who are back in our bedding area that have no one. They're laying there alone, and they're lonely. So I'll ask in the mornings, do you need me to sit with anyone? And I'll come in and sit with them. And it's the best thing I could ever do. I've learned so many wonderful stories about people and all their adventures they had in life. And it gives me a sense that they're fulfilled and they're ready to go further. Most of it's that way. We had one little girl that was only 12 that passed. That was hard. But normally, coming here to work, we learn that we're normal. We're not abnormal in our grief or anything else.
Well, I think younger generations have a much better sense of asking for help,
Yes.
of seeking counseling. Those
Yes.
of us of a certain vintage,
Yes.
we were not so much raised that way,
No.
right? You endured when something wasn't going right. You endured, and that was a sign that you were strong.
Yeah.
Asking for help was not a sign of strength. But unanimously in this room, you've all said how much you took from that and how it did make you strong.
It did.
Absolutely.
Do you find yourself having those conversations with peers now? I mean, well, we should say, right, each of you is now a volunteer here, and because of the experiences
Oh, yes.
you had.
In fact, today I was at the pharmacy. And the pharmacy girl, because I had to pick up a prescription, she says, where do you work?
Yeah.
And I said, I work for Joan and Diana Hospice. I'm a volunteer. And she said, oh, bless your heart. And I said, no. I have learned more from being here as a volunteer than I probably have in 20 years. And she understood, and that was what was important.
The bereavement group literally saved my life.
Yeah, me too.
And I just am so grateful that I can just I'm so joyful now. I'm so happy. I've never been more happy in my whole life. And yet I lost the love of my life. We was together 47 years. And yet I know where he is, and I know he'd be proud of me doing this. I'm proud. I'm proud to be a volunteer here at the Joan and Diana Hospice House, and I highly recommend it to anyone out there.
You've been hearing from Jill, Lee, and Judy. They all took part in KRMC's bereavement counseling, and now, because of those experiences, all three are volunteers here at the Joan and Diana Hospice Home. I want to thank you so much for your time
you.
and
Thank
your
you.
candor. Just such a pleasure to speak with you three.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
For more information on KRMC Hospice, please call 928-692-4680. That's 692-4680. And that is another episode of Focus on Your Health. I'm TG LaFredo. Thank you for listening. We'll catch you next time.